tonight is trauma. Somebody say trauma. Trauma. Now I get that sounds like almost like a really f***ed up episode like Sesame Street. Today was brought to you by the letter T for trauma. T is for trauma. It's good enough for me. T is for trauma. Cause me anxiety. Num 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 num. Me not eating cookies. Me eating my feelings. I always say, if you can't laugh at the pain, what can you do with it?
Welcome back to another episode of the Randy Wilson Podcast. This is episode 36. I'm here with my guy, Roscoe Burnems. I said the last name right? Burnems. I apologize.
You're good.
Yeah, I am. Look, this guy will make you laugh. By the way, first off, before I even get into the intro, I got a credit that I've reviewed. You know, he's highly Googleable. Okay, I mean, I reviewed an article in RVA Mag. I reviewed Cheats Move It podcast. Just go on the internet and type his name in. You can also go to his website. Drop your website for him, Roscoe.
It is roscoeb.webs.com.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your TEDx speech. I just checked out all the things on the internet that I could. Personally, I remember first listening to you from doing your poetry all the way back at Tropical Soul. Like I have observed you from a distance and watched you evolve into just such an incredible speaker. At first, the way I listened to you, it was about the poetry, but then it's like I watched you step into like poetry comedy to some degree. It's like because you really have a way with people in regard to engaging the audience and like one of the articles I referenced, make people laugh, make people cry. I read this, make people laugh again, scream. You definitely have a way in triggering in and getting into people's emotions. And I think you did a phenomenal job with it. Roscoe is a National Poetry Slam champion, 2-time Southern Regional Team Finalist, 3-time Southeastern Regional North Carolina Slam champion, 2019 Underground Poetry Slam champion, 3 times published author and teaching artist. Okay. He was I know it was a lot there, right? It was a lot. He was a writing and performance coach for the VCU Poetry Slam team, ranked 3rd in the world. Roscoe has been performing all across the country for over a decade. As I mentioned earlier, he started his career at the legendary Tuesday Versus. It's almost like he got an apprenticeship under the Honorable Warner Pickney, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
And now he's recognized nationally as one of the and he's on host for the art scene airing this fall on VPM. So he's most recently finished a book tour showcasing his 2nd and 3rd collection of poetry. But to start the show off, we're going to get into the film that he just recently released, Traumedy. So, hey, man, a hell of a bio you have there. Not only, I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't say. You know, I've been wanting to do a TEDx speech forever. Like you got a lot of credentials there, man. But to keep it real, I don't know how many is Tuesday Versus. I mean, at Tropical Soul, that was a long time ago. Like this was like short dreads, you know, like this was like, you have, I've never told you, I don't know if I told you this, but I just feel like you have, if I think about that original Versus crew, I don't know if anybody who is evolved or, this is my opinion. So I don't know if anybody has evolved artistically quite like you have from that. And there's some phenomenal talent for those of you who are not familiar with Tuesday Versus. I mean, like Tuesday Versus is it's the longest lasting stand-up poetry.
Yeah, longest running open mic.
Yeah.
In the state.
Yeah, it is. And like, not only, it's taken its paths through Richmond. It's still in Richmond. It's been in DC. It was in New York. But
right.
I'm going to say it. I think that if you go back to those Tropical Soul days, a lot of artists have evolved and grown and done amazing, incredible things. But you just stand out in a very special way in how you've artistically evolved. I mean, your craft.
Thank you.
So kudos to you, man. Not only that, and I'm still in my intro, the Virginia Sway in the Morning intro, but he takes time with the youth. He's into community service, philanthropy, advocacy, mental health. We're going to get into a lot of those things, but that's one thing I like to always like to emphasize, that the people that I bring on the show are more than whatever their artistic talents are. They're men, they're fathers, they're wives, whatever the case is. And so,
right.
Roscoe, stand-up guy, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
So let's get right into Traumedy. If I'm correct, and man, I remember the night that Traumedy. I think if I'm correct, I may be wrong. The first release of the film, I think you did at the Healing Hub with James Harris. Am I right with that?
So so the film screening was at the Healing Hub, with James Harris. That's the homie.
Sold out event, if I'm correct.
Sold out screening.
Zenobia Bay told me about that because she was there. And one of the things I found to be really interesting that night was that there were so many events in Richmond happening that night, and they all sold out. Because I was at the dark room that night for like a rap elite event, and it was sold out.
Yeah, radio.
Everything was sold out that night.
Radio had like a killer event, which I would have probably been able to go to. It's hard for me to get out the house because of the kids.
Yeah.
But I would have probably been able to make it to that one. But then it was one of the few dates that James Harris had open for the Healing Hub for us to be able to do the screening. So I was like, well, I gotta do the screening. But he had a sold out crowd. And then there was actually another like person kind of like who's kind of in the same circles who was doing the thing, and they had a sold out crowd. And then we had a sold out film screening. It was such a great day, a great night in the city. It was fantastic.
Let's speak on that. So let's just stay on that for a second. What do you think right now is happening in Richmond that's in the art community, in the Black art community, that is like right now seems to be a very special time? What do you see are the ingredients? What are the ingredients that you see going into this that's making this time that we're in right now so special in the Black? I've been in Richmond for 17 years, and I don't know if the art community has been ever any more vibrant than it is right now.
Well, so I'm home scene. You know what I mean? I'm born and bred. Mm-hmm. In Richmond, and I've seen, Richmond is very much a pendulum. So there's these huge upswings, and then there's these really low moments, right? There was a time, particularly when like Versus was at Tropical Soul, where there was a point in time where you could find something to do every day of the week. You know what I mean? There was open mics popping, there was comedy shows, there was everything. It was showcases. Lyric Ave was doing stuff every month or every week or whatever. Like there was a time period where there was something going on everywhere, and then it fizzled out. It hit that downswing, and then there was nothing. You know what I mean? And Tuesday Versus stood strong through it all, through every upswing, through every low moment. And right now, I think what I will say is that Richmond has been in its longest upswing recently. And so, let's hope, let's continue. Let's hope that it's not an upswing. Let's just hope that this is where we are now as a artistic culture. But I think this may sound a little shady. I'm going to, at the risk of this sounding a little shady, people who have quality art are now putting on quality events. And those two haven't always run together. Sometimes you get people who really enjoy the art, but may not be the best artists, putting on kind of substandard or mediocre events, and then that kind of ruins the culture a little bit, because then people don't want to come out to the shows. Yeah. Right. And then you had really dope people, but the really dope people would just go to the events and they would perform and then they would leave. Yeah. Right. But they weren't putting on any events. You know what I mean? Yeah. Minus whatever Versus was doing. Versus had been the most consistent because of Lorna. Yeah. Right. Lorna had something special because she had a way of getting all these really, really amazing, talented people together, working together, putting on great events. And that was just something that you didn't see all the time, right? Because egos and artists and so on and so forth. But right now we are in a really special place with Richmond hip hop just having this boom, this blossoming experience where people are really like soaking in all this like localized hip hop, these indie artists that are like really putting out great projects, and Radio B and the whole AGM camp really is responsible for that. And they've been really consistent. And the writers then pre-corona, had revived spoken word in the city, in a spoken word and poetry slams in the city in a way that hadn't been done in a long time. And it's because we've remained consistent and we brought in more talented people. Versus has been able to stay around as long as it has been because it's been consistent. And now you have the Richmond Night Market, and you have all these other festivals and things that are going on. And they're understanding the true value of consistency.
Do you think that particularly you and radio have there's a common bond between the two of you, being
that's big homie,
the versus relationship and Lorna? And if we talk about consistency, to me, I feel like both of you guys have taken some of the elements from what Lorna and you all as well, but you all poured into verses. And I feel like you've put that in your own thing. The writer's in, the RVA Rap League. I feel like I think part of what makes those things successful is that the same elements that you guys put into verses, I feel like it kind of shows how Lorna still lives. That's kind of what I see as a person who just attends events. I mean, when I attend RVA Rap League, I sense Lorna's spirit.
Right.
And I sense Lorna's spirit in what you do because I feel like the synergy's there.
So I agree. And I think what all the people who have like kind of come from under that umbrella and gone on to do other things watch the quality of work that she had into everything that she would put together, and the unparalleled work ethic that she had, mixed in with just having this really great and welcoming and warm, inviting energy. And I think that is like the cocktail for putting on, creating platforms for other artists that are more successful and have the ability to like help other people build a bridge to whatever they want to do next. I'm very transparent about how like there might not even be a Roscoe if there wasn't a Lorna. Like I sat with Lorna outside of verses, outside of packing stuff up after the show. We would kick it, we would talk. I've been in her house, like we sat and had coffee. Well, she had tea, I had coffee. We would sit and she would be like, when you think of yourself like this, you gotta think about these things and your public persona and being consistent and creating good atmosphere and creating good energy and creating good connections, and being genuine in all of that. And she practiced everything that she preached. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to follow in that legacy, and I'm going to go on to create other platforms for other artists as well, and create new opportunities for myself. But that's very much in the spirit of Lorna, both as an artist, as a friend, and as a businesswoman.
But for those of you who are listening to this show who may not be familiar, we're talking about Lorna Pickney. You really can't talk about the Virginia Richmond art scene without talking about her. She's a pioneer. She's a trailblazer. She's a legend. Yeah. Everyone who had the opportunity to have some involvement with her was blessed, and her legacy still lives. I can tell you now, I had these random coincidental situations where I'd be taking a China bus to New York, and every single time I was on the bus, Lorna was too, whether she was going to New York to do a versus or if she was just going to visit the family. And those bus trips stand out to me just because of the conversations that we were having when I was going through some very personal, difficult things in my life. Like I don't even know if she knows now, but she was definitely a therapist for me on those bus rides. And so just a special person. For those of you who don't know, a little bit of Richmond, history there, because I know there's people who follow the podcast that are not from Richmond. But moving forward in transition. Okay. So This is a big deal, man. I mean, the film is that's a different that's a different layer. This is your first film, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's get into Traumedy. I mean, as a first film, you got a few books, you know what I'm saying? But your first film, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the process. Can you kind of start with like what the inspiration was? Traumedy.
So, I've Traumedy is, the short end of it is that Traumedy is this marriage of two genres that I have loved probably my entire life. And so most people know me from like doing spoken word, right? They see me at the open mics, or they see me on the road. They see me, with different collectives or whatever and performing, and it's always been poetry based. But if you've ever seen me on stage, I'm always gonna cut up a little bit. I'm cracking jokes. I'm talking to the crowd. It's just a part of it just adds to the experience. You know what I mean? And but poetry has always been this love of mine. It's given me a chance to share all these emotions I've kept pent up for so long, to be able to kind of tell my story and help somebody kind of identify with theirs, and build these connections. Poetry has that way of creating that bridge, that emotional bridge for people to connect to each other. So that's always been a passion of mine, and it's been a therapeutic process for me. It's been a very cathartic process. And comedy, though, stand-up in particular, stand-up comedy has been a love of mine ever since I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. And my mom made the best or worst parenting decision, depending on your perspective. She let me watch Def Comedy Jam.
What age again?
So I was like 8 or 9. I had to be like 8 or 9. I know I was definitely not a double-digit number yet. So it was anywhere between under 10.
That's when you know. That's when you know words are bad. You just don't know exactly what they mean.
And that was like how she left it. She's like, "Don't say that. Don't say that." Every time there was a cuss word, just don't say that. Don't say that. And so for context, like my mom wasn't just like letting us just watch profane, like comedians or whatever, just at a whim. So look, I'm an open book, man. I'm pretty transparent. Like when I grew up, we grew up in my great grandmother's house, right? It was kind of passed down. They grew up in a little country road, little farm. That's where I spent most of my childhood. And but we were all, it's a little small 2-bedroom house, but it was me, my brother, my mom, my grandmother, my aunt, and my great grandmother. So it's all 6 of us. My aunt moved out later, so 5 of us, all living in this 2-bedroom house. My mom, my brother, and me shared a room till I was 13. Right? So want a whole lot of space. You don't get a whole lot of alone time when you share a room with 2 other people. Yeah. So if she wanted to watch a movie, like at some point she was just gonna have to just watch watch it. Yeah. So when she bought this box set of Def Comedy Jam, like she was just, at some point she was just like, I'm just gonna watch it and just don't say these words and don't ask no questions. And that was just where we left it. And so I got this. I was like 8 or 9 years old, watching like Adele Givens and Bernie Mac and Chris Tucker, like just like all these OG comedians like going in like in their prime. And yeah. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. Like I didn't get all the jokes, but you could. What's funny is just funny.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it. And so I never tried it. Like I would tell jokes, in the midst of doing other stuff where I crack jokes with my friends, but I never ventured out into doing comedy. Even if like my mom or my sisters or my friends would tell me that I'm funny and you should give it a shot, like I was too scared to like go after it. And this was kind of a way of kind of dipping my feet into the comedy world in a way that felt a little more comfortable for me.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's always been basically always been a part of you. When you was coming, so when you were take us forward though to when you were thinking about, okay, I want to make a film, and I want to put a project out there. I want to put a piece of myself out there and express myself in a way. Like take us there.
So I had the idea for it like 5 or 6 years back. And my sister was trying to encourage me to do it. And I was like, yo, nobody's going to listen to me tell jokes and read poems for an hour. It's just not going to happen. And so she's like, you got to do it, you got to do it, you got to do it. So then we started trying to think of.
I think that's interesting. That's what you felt. 3 times this, 2 times that, and 1 time. That's what you thought. I feel like feel like people wait for you to perform. You're giving them an
man, like I won't say I didn't have faith in it, but I was not positive. I was not positive about it. And she was like, you got to do it. And I was like, I don't know, And so then I had the idea and I wanted to do it, but I just didn't move on it. So fast forward a few years, I'm like really thinking about it and I'm putting stuff on my vision board. I'm taking stuff down that I've already accomplished. I live and die by vision boards, Like I'm always switching out stuff. Like I'm like checking stuff off my list. I love vision boards. They help me really
is that why the whiteboard's together? Is that why the whiteboard's behind
the whiteboard behind me is actually because so this is my like the playroom for my kids. There's like a bunch of toys and stuff everywhere. I was like, oh man, this is gonna look kind of crazy when he's sitting in this room. So I was like, I'm gonna get the whiteboard to like block it. But like I made this into a makeshift classroom. So I have like a desk and whiteboard, and this is where lessons go down. Like I'm heavy on education, so like once the schools were shut down, I was on it.
Got you. Okay, I didn't mean to change your thought there, but I was thinking like, I was wondering like, is that the backdrop or is he really a teacher?
I am really a teacher like all the time. I'm in teacher mode all the time. My kids love it and hate it.
Before the recording, I was just telling Roscoe that I just got promoted to being like lead teacher in the homeschool program here at the Wilson family. I've been the cook and the PE teacher and maintenance guy, kinda. But now my wife is going back to work, and so I am being promoted, and I am now the lead teacher. And I am
not feeling it.
I ain't feeling it, man. Our children can be, I work with children and adults, but I feel like our children can be our most difficult client or student, because we have that emotional attachment to that. And we'll get into that stuff. Right. But let's get back to the Traumedy.
So I was working through all these different, I didn't have a title for it at the time, and I was trying to work through it, and I had like, I had a couple of ideas and just like really long titles, really short titles. I come up with this one title and then realized that title was actually the name of a podcast that already exists, and I couldn't use that. And I was like, oh, it's going to be called Commentary because it's going to be like comedy and poetry mixed together. And then that was taken, so I didn't use that. And so like I was struggling working through titles, and for a while it was called Stand Up Poetry. I got it. I was like dumb title after dumb title. And the Traumedy ended up being kind of this blend, and it's actually an actual genre. It's actually like an actual genre about anything that's like dramatic, that features like comedic elements, and it's like centered around something like a traumatic event. Like it's actually a genre of drama that exists. And so I was like, oh, this works. It's already a thing. Like it's already like a whole genre that exists.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just kind of fits into that. Kind of fits into that genre, and it accurately described what people were about to experience.
So what's your feedback been? Like, what's the experience been? You've had people have seen the film. Is that on it? Let them know right now where it's at. For those people.
So it is now streaming. Yeah. So it's now streaming on Amazon Prime Video. So if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can just type in Traumedy and it will pop right up. If you don't have a Prime account, you can still watch it. You can rent it for like $2.99, and you can purchase it for like $9.99. And it's a great film, and it covers a lot. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback from it. We've gotten a lot of good reviews since it's been streaming. And then even when we did the live show, so come 2019, right, at the Dark Room. And that was just in 2019, so not even that long ago. So I was fresh off the book tour, which went really, really well. And then the book tour ended at the end of August, and then we really, really started working on like more material for the show that we wanted to do in October. And I didn't really have like a set goal for it yet until about the summertime. And I was like, I'm going to film it. And then I was like, I'm going to film it. And then I was like, I'm going to shop it around. I didn't really know what that meant yet, but I was just like, this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And so then a friend of mine who is a director, she actually did a documentary about Black men and mental health, Nakia Sheree. Yeah. And she did this documentary about Black men and mental health called Man Listen, and I was a part of that. And then I was telling her about this idea that I had, and she was like, "Oh, I'll help you do it. I'll help you put it together." And I was like, "Yo, that would be great. Like, I need a camera crew, I need a director, I need all this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing." And so she was like, "Cool." She's like, "Whatever we can do, we'll make it work." And so she signed up as the director for it, and kind of put me on game about how to like go about getting this done, getting this film, what I was gonna need. And then she was the one who actually was like, "Have you taken a look at Amazon Prime?" And I'm like, "I don't know anybody at Amazon. I don't know Jeff Bezos. Like, how do you even do that?" And she kind of walked me through the process about how you send it and how you get it published through as an independent artist or independent filmmaker, how you get it published to Amazon. So she walked me through that process, and then it was all a go. We recorded in October, did the live show. The live show was sold out, and it went really well. People didn't expect what they got. And it was this like emotional experience, right? Because they're getting these kind of heavy kind of poems, and then they're getting these like really like funny jokes, but it's like about like a really difficult topic, like trauma. Mm-hmm. And so it's all kind of rolled into one. And so they're laughing, they're crying, they're laughing, and which actually ended up being kind of the tagline for it. There was a person who came to the live show, and she was like, I cried till I laughed, and I laughed till I cried. And I was like, that's exactly what the experience is supposed to be. So the live show went great, had a lot of great feedback from that. We sat with my editor, and we ran through it, and once we got it to a point where it looked really good, we sent it, we uploaded it, published it to Amazon, and then they rejected us and told us that we did not have our stuff together. We had to fix all these different things, and we were like, "Oh, okay." So it was supposed to have a February release date, and then that did not happen until we were able to kind of fix all the things that needed to be fixed, because they have their own set of criteria and standards. And then come April, beginning of April, a friend had asked me about it and was like, "Hey, did that Traumedy thing that you did ever air? Is that on anywhere I can see it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know yet. Like, I haven't heard anything." And so I happened to just go on Amazon's website and just type it in. And like, it's just there. It was just there. Like, they didn't send me an email. They didn't give me a heads up or nothing. I was like, "Oh, snap, this is crazy." And like, I took a picture with my phone of my TV screen, and then that was how we told everybody. That was how we told everybody that Traumedy was now streaming.
So I would imagine there's a lot of people who are listening, or who will listen, who are artists and who are inspired to do the same thing in some capacity. It may not be with a film. It may be with a film. It may be with a book. It may be with a CD. Like, when you look at what you've done to get where you are right now, okay, what are you now? What is the focus now? Like, now, what are you doing now to put energy and effort into making sure that the masses are familiar and aware of this traumedy? Because this, to me, sounds like something that everybody needs an opportunity to experience. So, like, what do you do now? And I'm asking that more or less because I feel like you can provide an example to other artists who are trying to do the same thing in whatever area that they focus on, whether it's painting or music or film. Like, I feel like you can be an example to say, like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going to do. What are the next steps?
So I'll start by saying this. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she asked, how has social media or technology changed the game particularly for poets, right? That's what she was asking, particularly about poets. But I think it stands true for all independent artists, that one, we didn't really know how to operate social media until like the last 5 or 6 years, for real. Right. And as independent artists, as small time, who don't have like the major machine or the label or the huge publishing company behind them. Right. We didn't really know how to navigate social media to our benefit. But social media and technology and all these different platforms have really changed the game. Right. You don't always need the machine behind you. You don't always need the large press. You don't always need the huge labels and, things, behind you in order to gain some level of success in your field. You need the you need the consistency in the work ethic, right? Shouts out to Lorna, because that's what she taught me.
Mm-hmm.
So we found a platform that worked well for independent artists. It just happened to be one of the largest streaming platforms and online stores in the world, right? The richest man in the world is Jeff Bezos. He's worth over $11 billion, something crazy. Like, and it's because of Amazon. Amazon is this huge platform, and so and they have Kindle Direct Publishing for people who want to publish books on their own, right? And now they have Video Direct. So if you are an independent filmmaker and you are putting out quality work, because they will reject you, but if you're putting out quality work and you have an independent film or short film or whatever, you can now upload it and then be accessible to not just wherever you're able to go and reach people physically, but people across the world. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what YouTube and Amazon and all these bigger platforms have allowed us to do. And so you have to use that you have to leverage all these things. You have to use these to your benefit. But when you work for yourself, that means that you are not just the artist, but you're the manager and you're the publisher and you're the street team. You're marketing. You're all of that. So you have to be prepared to be all those things all the time. And so it requires the more work, but it's more fulfilling. My personal opinion is more fulfilling in the long run because you earned it. You know that you earned it.
All right. So go ahead. No, go ahead.
So the next steps from here is to continue to be all those things, right? To further strengthen the brand, mm-hmm. To be on, dope ass shows like, the Randy Wilson podcast. You know what I mean? Hey, use that for a soundbite.
Yes, sir. I am.
But it is you're helping me too. You know what I mean? You're helping my brand. You know what I mean? Like, Traumedy has built up a name for itself. I'm gonna be like, hey, you want to know some ins and outs about Traumedy? I'm gonna be on the Randy Wilson podcast, and that's gonna bring people to come and listen to you. You have your own following, right? I wanted to be a part of this because I heard so many great things about the show and about you, and I'm like, well, that's gonna help his followers come and connect with me, right? And that's the catch. You know what I mean? Yeah. You got to continue to build that brand and politic with people who are also brand building and become the machine yourself. You don't have to have the machine behind you. You can become the machine.
Yes.
So work ethic, yo. You got to put the work ethic. You got to have the work ethic.
Wow. So, okay. You said so many things there. Let me get into some more, I guess, into intricate questions here. Poet. I would consider you an MC. But you consider yourself an MC?
Hey, yo, man, look, I was a hip hop head before I was anything else.
Yeah.
I am a hip hop head to my core, and so I'm always gonna be.
Poets can be MC.
I started out as an MC before I was really, really getting into poetry. That's really what I really wanted to be when I was coming out of high school, and but poetry just took off, and I just ran with it.
But can't poets be MCs?
But I still got the bars.
Yeah, but can't
poets can definitely be.
I feel like
if you look at somebody like Common,
the type of poet you are, like, you're not just a poet, okay? Like, you're not just a poet. Like, you're not a person who reads poems. I mean, you may read a poem. Like, I don't know that I ever call you. I mean, I don't know. I maybe have it, but like, even if you was reading something, you have the ability to convey and deliver a message with so much power and enthusiasm in life. It's a little bit different than someone who just gets up there and says, reads their poem. Like, you're a professional. Right. This thing, you know what I'm saying? Well, let me ask you this question. Do you ever get this? Does it ever bother you? Or do you ever get frustrated when people say, hey, Roscoe, can you do something? Let me hear you say it. I mean, you get paid to do this now. You know what I'm saying? Does that ever bother you?
As an artist, every artist will tell you, it's so annoying for people to be like, oh, just do a poem. Oh, spit a verse. Oh, sing a song. Oh, you paint? Can you paint something for me so I can put it in my house? Like, for free. They want it for free. And it is the only professional field where people feel comfortable doing that. At no point has anybody ever walked up to a heart surgeon and was like, oh, for real? Yo, do surgery, like right now. I want to see it. You got a video footage of you doing surgery? I'm trying to come through with your next jump. Like, nobody does that. You know what I mean? So, and it's because, artists, artists supposed to be for the people. I mean, I get it, but at some point you gotta know that like this is how I feed my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to check out Roscoe, give them the website right now where they can go check out a lot of your videos.
So you can definitely Google me, but everything is probably most accessible at roscoeb.webs.com.
Yeah, he got a lot of videos on there. He got dreads, short dreads, long dreads. He got all kind of different, you know what I'm saying? You see the evolution of Roscoe right there. But I was curious to that though, because as a fan, that's part of the reason why I shared your TEDx, that's such a big deal. That's such a big deal to do a TEDx presentation. But I'm one of those fans. Like I asked the question because I know, I'm sure it's like aggravating for someone. It's just like someone who gets tired of giving. It's like a professional athlete who probably get tired of like having to sign signatures, right? This is my
right.
Like, I'm sure you get it, but at the same time, I think fans want you to know that it's a respect thing because they're so invested and engaged, tuned with what you have, and it's like the only thing I would say to artists is like, it's your fault. Like you created this, and then people want it, and it's like you never get enough. But hey, discipline is key. If you want it, go get it. It's on the internet. Go check it out. You got all kind of material out there right now.
Right.
Go check it out. That's the balance.
Yeah.
So I had to ask you that question. So I'm not gonna put you on the spot. I'm not gonna try to do that. Even though I was gonna try before, but I'm not gonna do that.
It's cool, man. Like I don't mind, situations like this, man. Like I get it. You know what I mean? And I'm a person who, I like to put my money where my mouth is. And like if I say I'm the best, and like people are like, oh, prove it, and I'm like, okay, I got you, bet. You know what I mean? Like, and I give them some bars or I spit a poem or whatever.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's talk about that though. Let's talk about that. Do you in rap, every artist, every MC walks around like you're supposed to feel that you're best, and if you don't feel that you're the best, you're not really. What kind of MC are you? Is that the same in poetry?
There's actually like a thing kind of going around now about how, because like the idea of, I guess, when you're in this particular genre, poets are supposed to kind of have this kind of cool, kind of mellow, kind of like nothing bothers them, kind of, or this kind of like monk, kind of one with the earth kind of persona. But poets have egos just like anybody else, you know what I mean? And the idea that you have to stay humble all the time. Mm-hmm. Can be kind of defeating, right? Because you want people to acknowledge you want people to acknowledge your talent and give you your flowers while you're still here. Yeah. So but it's like, but does that type of bravado have a place in poetry, right? Is poetry supposed to be different from hip hop? And I'm a firm believer in balance. I don't toot my own horn a lot, but I am now in a place where I do not run from my accomplishments. So if people are like, oh, you're a poet, like, I'm a poet too, I write poetry. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't win a national title. Yeah, but you haven't been published in 12 different magazines, right? Yeah, but you didn't publish 3 books. So like, I get that you like to write poetry, cool. Yeah. Lots of people like to write poetry. But when you say, oh, I'm a poet just like you're a poet, then I'm gonna ask you for your credentials. How have you proven this? You know what I mean? Stage or page, how have you ventured into this as a profession?
Yeah, that's different. It's the difference. It's like I have a title in my job as an executive director, but I don't own the business. You know what I'm saying? I have never owned the company. That being when you are a poet like yourself and you have done all these things, it's a little bit different. It's a lot different actually than when you're like a person who's in a position of leadership in poetry. No, you, like you said earlier, you are is everything go to your screen? Make technical difficulties. Are we good? Roscoe, you good? We there? We're back?
Oh, yeah. I think I lost you for a second.
Okay. Basically, we're good. Whew.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Like, it's a difference. It's like, it's a difference between being an owner and being a director.
Yeah.
The risk you take is a lot larger, and which requires you to take a lot more ownership. So so let me ask you some questions here, because so during this quarantine time, right?
Yeah.
Has there been any like creative inspiration for you during this time to like do some things, or has it just been like, okay, I'm getting the feeling no, it's like rest, take care of the family? Like, where are you at right now?
Man, like stuff like this actually, stuff like this, one, exacerbates my depression. And stuff like this, well, subsequently, if my depression is like on one, then my creativity is like gone. It like zaps all of it. And so it's really been a struggle, honestly. And I've been fairly productive as far as writing and trying to just keep myself, artistic and creative. But it's been very difficult. And so I've battled that by, doing some like attending online workshops, having more conversations with more artists and just kind of riffing, off each other and just being able to kind of see where they are artistically and what's been motivating them, or just having a conversation about why we feel the way we feel, and just being able to build with other artists. But it's been like a really, really like a struggle since the quarantine, trying to stay creative.
I find that interesting. I find that interesting because there's other artists that I've talked to who find the pain and the suffering and the stress the times where they evolve the most. So it sounds like you get in your creative spaces in times that I don't want to call it more normal, but like, I guess happier times, better times.
Kind of. When I first started writing, so when I first started really, really taking poetry like seriously, or at least it became more more part of my process.
How many years ago was that? How many years ago was that?
20.
Okay.
So somewhere, like around like, maybe early middle school, it might have been like 11, 12, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And I really was like, kind of really into it. But I was writing from like a place of pain. Like my poems were really dark and depressed, and they were about like stuff going on at home, neglect or heartbreak or whatever. And that's where the writing took place. And then it got to a point where that's the only time I could write, right? If I couldn't really get anything out unless I was in some type of traumatic moment.
Mm-hmm.
That changed for me, shucks, man, probably about 5 years ago, like not even that long ago, where I was able to write from a place where I just write for the love of writing. You know what I mean? Not necessarily because something traumatic is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And now, and so now you would think that, if something like this is going on and it can be, kind of a traumatic experience, that it will be able to kind of ignite that fire again, but it's stifling. You know what I mean? Like I want to be around other artists, and I want to be around artistic spaces. I want to go to, a coffee shop where there's art all around me and there's music playing and there's people, typing. I want to be around these, these spaces. And I'm not able to do that. And sometimes that's draining.
Being that I can say that as a witness, I had seen you 15 years ago, oh no, probably somewhere between 12 and 15 years ago, whenever Tropical Soul was going as a younger poet. We're probably at the same age, I guess. And just seeing you evolve, right? Narrator Jones is a very strong, OG of the poet community, right? If you go back, okay, as the young poet Roscoe, and you look at yourself, okay, and you've evolved, what is that like when you see yourself evolve and grow as a poet? And then you look at, a Narrator Jones, and now it's like, I mean, is it fair to say you can, there was a time where you probably looked up to him. And I'm not saying that you don't look up to him now, but now you can look over. But now you can look at them close, eye to eye, or now maybe you can spar. What is that like? Am I okay with that? Am I going too far?
No, man, like, so like that. So that's Big
Poetry
Brother.
bars
That
here. I
is,
feel like y'all now it's like there was a time where it was different. Now it's like you're more like peers.
we are more like peers. I do agree with that. But it's your big brother is always going to be your big brother. Like even if you one day, right, like, you know what I mean, like you end up taller than him, right? Like that's still like your big brother.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I'm taller, but I have gone on to like try and, to take some risk. Some of the risk I was just afforded. You know what I mean? Like anybody who knows narrator knows he works his behind off like all the time. Both in a with a regular kind of like a regular people job, or but also in his craft, and he's amazing. And every time he writes something new, I'm like always floored, and it's always causing me to push my pen forward, and try new things in my writing and try new things in my approach. He set the bar, and he continues to set the bar so high. And so like shouts out to him, because I was like 17 when I first started coming around to verses. It was like 2000 and probably like 2004, 2005. So maybe I was 18 or whatever.
Dang, I'm older. I'm older than you. Okay, I shouldn't even.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm 33,
that was the
man.
time. Because I came to Richmond in 03, and I remember Tropical Soul was like the first.
Oh yeah.
That was like my wow. That was my wow experience. Like, wow, this is Richmond. That was my introduction to what Richmond was. I expected everything to be like that.
Yo, man, you had the best introduction you could have had. You know what I mean? Like that's what we all aspire Richmond to be. But like shouts out to narrator, shouts out to Dior, Iman Shabazz, NASDAQ, homie Jeffrey Marlowe. Shouts out to Io, Nikki McMullen, Onaje, like that crew that was already there when I was this like young kid, like 2X t-shirts and bucket hats, like skinny scrawny. I was like 150 pounds soaking wet. I was 6 feet tall. I was built like Snoop Dogg.
Well, Young Wiz.
Yeah, Young Wiz, exactly. I came in, I was this wiry kid that came in, and I was like super eager, and I seen them killing it. I seen Raider and Dior and Aman and Jamal, and they were killing it. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And it wasn't, they weren't like super competitive. They were the OGs that you needed. You know what I mean? Like they saw me, and they were like, oh yeah, he all right. He's kind of dope. You know what I mean? And they were super encouraging. But they were always gonna go up and kill it. And you knew they were gonna go up and kill it, and they were gonna tell you that they were gonna go and kill it. And it made you had to bring it. It made it so you had to bring your best. You couldn't go out there and half-ass it. You had to be if you were going to consider yourself one of the best, if you were going to be a part of this crew that were like representing the best of art in the city at the time, then you had to bring it. You had to push your pen forward. And so they forced me to do that. They forced me to they sharpened my sword. And for that, I will always be grateful. But you know what I mean? Because they set the bar. You know what I mean? And so then when you're the OG and you got these little ones coming under you, the little ones, the youngest, they supposed to go past whatever you did. You're supposed to make the next generation better than what you were or what you are. And so hopefully, I like to think that I'm doing that now. And so now I'm working with all these kids. I'm in these high schools. I'm working with all these like nonprofits and working with all these young kids who want to write poems or who want to rap or who want to do whatever. And I'm like, I want them to be 10 times better than what I am right now. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna always keep pushing myself so that they always keep pushing themselves. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's how the system is supposed to be set up. You know what I mean?
So getting into the entrepreneur side of yourself, as an artist, do you struggle with, and I don't ask it to be too personal, I'm asking it to be a real artist. It's like an artist question. Like you're an artist, you're a real artist. So do you struggle with allowing your artistry to primarily create your lifestyle financially, and you're a family guy versus like how do you and then balancing that with like okay, but I can go get some money over here because you're a teacher, so you do a lot of other things as well. Like, do you struggle with that balance? I know some people who try to just live in their art lane because they are artists, but it ain't taking care of everything. They struggle with that.
Right. And that was the case for a while, and I had to accept that, right? So there was a lot for a while. I mean, I was moving furniture, just not even more than 6 years ago, 6, 7 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Like that was bringing in the primary source of income. You know what I mean? Working at warehouses, shipping and receiving. You know what I mean? Driving a forklift, all that. And I was still doing poetry, and I would like go to travel to DC, and I would be doing a show, and I'd get back home at 3 a.m. I got to be up at 6 to go back to work. You know what I mean? And but I never let anything get in the way of the art. I found ways to create some level of compromise. So I didn't get to go to all the poetry slams. I didn't get to go to all the shows, but I was gonna make it work in between time until it was able to kind of broaden. And then I had to learn something that I think every artist needs to learn early on, and that is how to diversify your art. You have to diversify your art. So if you think, particularly from a poetry perspective, right, or even with like MCs and stuff, if you think that you're just gonna like hit up these shows, these open mics, these showcases, or whatever, and you're gonna go and they're gonna throw you a little feature money, and you're gonna sell some CDs out your backpack or some books or whatever, and that's gonna make your bread to pay your rent. That's probably not gonna happen. And that's not to deter anybody, but just understand that that's only one stream of income. But we live in a world that requires almost multiple streams of income. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go back to the 9-to-5 or the rat race or the regular job. It does mean you need to figure out more ways to make your art work for you, right? So Traumedy is a great example, because with Amazon as a platform, there's two things that's happening there. There's passive income and there's access. So passive income from streaming or whatever, anybody who's an independent artist knows that you ain't getting no money off streams, right? For every, I was just revisiting the numbers or whatever, and so like I get paid 6 cents for essentially for every hour that people are watching. So every time it's an hour-long show, if you watch Traumedy in its entirety, I get 6 cents. You know what I mean? So like it ain't a whole lot of money, right? You know what I mean? Like right now I got a whole $13 check coming to me from Amazon off the streams. So, but it allows access. You know what I mean? Like being on a platform like that, allows me to be in other spaces and be like, so I'm streaming here. You can see my work here. You know what I mean? Like this is where you're able to find me and view my work, and then like that shows you that I had this sold out show and that I'm worth bringing to your college, or you know what I mean, or to your comedy club. You know what I mean? Like
that check, yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost like a part of the resume, right? We live in a world where you have to, you have to have some level of presence, right? If you don't really have any, particularly online, if you don't have any level of presence online, then nobody's going to trust your art, right? Like it's so easy to put together a website now, right? Social media is life, especially right now. So if you don't have a dope IG presence, Twitter presence, Facebook presence, you know what I mean? Then, what are you doing as an artist, right? You need to be seen in places. You need to be seen in places, not just physically, but online as well. And so that's what streaming on a large platform like Amazon allows you to do. We took poems that I had, and we did a licensing thing for another podcast. And so they're using the poem as like the intro, essentially the intro song for the pod that opens up the podcast. And they cut us a check off that. You know what I mean? Like I started working with University of Richmond and Partner of the Arts to do a thing, do a whole like integration like kind of workshop series, right? That shows how to use poetry in the classroom, right? So then there's something from that, right? Being around and being at all these places allowed me to audition for PBS, BPM's art scene, right? So then there's something, there's a check coming from there. So like you have to figure out different ways to make your art work for you. It can't just be going to the open mics and spitting the poems, right? Yeah. That gets old. That fizzles out after a while. You got to figure out other ways to be in other places.
I appreciate you. You giving game. You
Yeah.
know,
I get ready to game for free, man. Look, this is how we
the
grow.
young
This is how
OG,
we grow.
the young OG.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Fab. So, yeah, I try to stay on, I want to stay on time because I know we're approaching an hour. Do me a favor, drop your social media handles for everybody right now so they can know how they can follow you. Great cut up moment right here.
So if you do at Roscoe Burnems, you'll find me pretty much everywhere. So Roscoe is Roscoe. Burnems is Burnems. So if you look that up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, like if you just type it into Google, like all of it's gonna come up, plus everything else.
Cool.
So I'm Googleable.
Googleable. Hey, I like to close with asking like some random questions where you just have to think fast. Okay.
All right, bet.
They're not like, but some of them are going to be questions I want you to give a little bit of an answer. But I'm gonna.
Okay.
You'll decipher the difference. I want to go back to was the TEDx a big deal to you? What was that experience like?
Very much. I was very excited and very nervous. I was very excited and very nervous to do that. And so that actually, part of that was because of Traumedy. Like word has circled around after the live show and it went really well. My name has started to kind of circulate more often because I was working with more schools and things of that nature. And so they were like, hey, we've heard some things about you. We've heard about this, this thing that you just did. And so would you be willing to come and do a TED Talk? And I was like, yeah, that would be fantastic. But it was such a different lane for me. But again, great exposure, great opportunities came from that, great access, right? And it's a big platform. And so, that's another way, that's me diversifying my art again. You know what I mean? But it was a
You
big
seem
deal.
perfect for it. You seem perfect for it to me. Like that's what
I was
you
so
do.
nervous.
I mean, understandable to be nervous in that situation, but that's what you do. It's like you get up and talk in front of people, and you make them laugh, you can cry, but you bring harmony. You bring humor, you bring real things to them. So I feel like it was, as much as I can understand, it would be nervous. It seemed like the perfect platform for you to be able to exercise your skill set, and not only your skill set, but I think it's important that people recognize that through the art of the poetry, the substance. Like there's, even at a corporate level, you can deliver messages in a poetic and or comical type of way, but it could probably impact people in a way that it would make them realize like, ooh. And sometimes it's better to receive things through humor or through poetry versus to receive things through direction. Sometimes the poetry and the comedy and the humor can direct the path that people need to take versus someone telling them that. They're not as they're more resistant to that.
Yeah, we definitely process the information differently. I mean, I think that's the job of the storyteller, right? Is to present it in a way that allows people to digest it, right? And so whether they get it now on the ride home or whatever, or if they thought it was too tough to talk about and now they find themselves kind of chuckling at it, that helps to break down those walls and makes these conversations a little more normal.
Yeah. So I'm asking you these random questions before we close. You ready? Just random questions. Some of these questions are how I feel, so don't take them personal. These are probably
no worries.
Me. I'm sitting at home right now, we're quarantined. Do you feel like you're getting fat? Because I feel like I'm getting fat.
Yes,
you feel
man.
Like lazy right now. Like, I mean, are you trying some home workout room anything, or do you feel like? How do you?
I still run. I still jog a couple times a week. I try to do about 3 miles.
Mm-hmm.
I got workout stuff at the house, and for a while it was crazy. Like I had dropped 10 pounds, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm killing it right now in quarantine. But then that changed very quickly, and then 10 pounds came back real fast. So yeah, man, like it's tough, and I probably should work out tonight. But
weight used to be $1 a pound. They used to be. You know how much they're like? They're like $3-4 a pound now. If you wanted to buy weights on Amazon, yeah, you used to buy a 20-pound dumbbell for $20. Now, now it will cost you $80.
Oh man,
it's crazy. Yeah. Hey,
that markup, man.
If there was a vaccine for the corona or the COVID-19, would you take it or not? I'm letting you know, I'm not taking it.
Nah,
I'm
not right now. I'm gonna let somebody else be the guinea pig real quick. You know what I mean? See how that work out for them. And then when the coast is clear, I'll think about it.
Has this situation influenced you in any way to feel that homeschool may be the best thing for the kids versus going back to school?
I'm still on the fence about homeschool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of, from somebody who's been working in education, and I know you have some experience as well. Like there's a lot of holes in the public education system.
Yeah.
We've tried to fix that as a family by making sure that we fill in those gaps as parents. But I know that's not happening for every kid.
Yeah.
But there's a social component to public school that I really appreciate.
Yeah.
That I don't feel like homeschool kids get until much later.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to take that away from my kids. You know what I mean? So I'm on the fence.
Okay, so while you're there, do you feel that there is a place for religion in grade school?
No, I bet. I don't even. My bad. You got to religion, and I was like, nah. There's no place for. There's no place for religion. There's no place for religion. In the sentence, right there for me.
I mean, hey, being that you're an educator, I had to ask you that. I had that conversation with John Bibbs before, and
I love John Bibbs.
Yeah.
Not only am I an educator, and so I vehemently believe in the separation of religion and school or church and state or whatever, because there are so many people with different backgrounds, different religious beliefs, so on and so forth, right? We know that. So there's definitely no place for religion of any kind in school, because people should be able to like learn without the pressures of being judged for their religious practices, within the classroom. So aside from that, I'm also very, very much agnostic, borderline atheist, and I don't really do religion. I grew up Baptist. I am not that anymore. You know what I mean? And so that's just what it is. I don't knock anybody for what they choose to believe. But you can choose to believe that over there.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you think that? By the way, great answers here. Like I just ask questions. I'm giving this for the people, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think that have we over or under reacted to the COVID-19?
So it's such a loaded. Oh my God, man! I don't even know where to begin.
I'm bringing them in.
Man,
I'm gonna lighten the questions about you. I'm gonna lighten them up after this. Okay.
Okay, work. for what for the information that we are given about coronavirus, about COVID-19, about this strand of coronavirus, COVID-19.
Again, good point. This strand, because a lot of people don't realize that this has been out there.
Right, coronavirus is, like they've existed before. We've called it SARS, we've called it MERS. It's taken on other names. So right now it's called COVID-19. Cool. For this particular strand, we definitely, and for the information that we're being given, we definitely as a country, America, I don't like saying we, as a country, America underperformed, underreacted.
Yeah.
We have an administration that has never really been concerned with people as much as it's been concerned with its constituents, and that's always been a conflict of interest when running a country.
Gotcha.
So, but that's a whole different thing. But yes, the short answer is America totally underreacted, and now it's like the kid trying to study for the test right before class. Now they're trying to cram and do all this stuff that's necessary, but it's not. It's.
So should America return back to work as normal on May 1st?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't want to be like super paranoid, but I don't want to put people's lives in danger either. You know what I mean? So
I'm canceling my Gold's Gym membership right now. I'm letting you know. I'm not.
You just needed a reason. You ain't want that membership no way. You just needed a reason.
I really want membership. I love the Gold's Gym, but now I'm beginning to feel like, you know what? I need to invest that money into buying my own equipment and just like, I am not.
No,
I don't know if I want to be. I love people. I've always prided myself around being around people, always, and being sociable and like not allowing anyone's image or being to negatively affect me from being me and touching them or hugging them. But I ain't gonna lie, all that's changed.
Right.
All that's changed a little bit. I'm a little uncomfortable right now. I really am. Like, I'm not uncomfortable being around people, but I am more mindful probably than I've ever been before in regard to like social distancing and boundaries. I am like, I don't know that I don't know that shaking hands is the socially appropriate thing anymore. I don't know. I'm nervous. I am super paranoid right now.
I can't let myself become that paranoid. I feel it makes me uncomfortable. And I do believe in being cautious. You know, if we need to lock it down until June 10th, which was one of the original dates that, you know, the governor talked about.
That's all politics, man. June, no date is this ain't going away. It is what it is.
I mean, yeah, but you know, like the idea of trying to flatten the curve, that's what the science is. I'm gonna leave it up to the professionals to kind of make those decisions, because I don't have all the information that's necessary to make the most informed decision.
Hey, I heard someone say that the old norm got old also. And maybe it's time for us to learn new norms, whether we learned it being quarantined with our family,
right,
or now we transition back into public and learn like what is the new appropriate social norm. Look, Michael Jackson was wearing a mask and nobody, and we thought he was crazy. Michael might have known about all this like way back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe this is the new norm.
Michael also had like 12 nose jobs and bleached his skin, right? So like, I'm not taking health advice from Michael Jackson.
Mike had vitiligo. You don't come on, man. It was
not how vitiligo works. Not how vitiligo works. I wish people would stop using that.
Listen, we will defend Michael. Michael's fans will always defend Michael. Look, I got like 3 more questions. We're gonna wrap it up. All right.
I bet.
Lighter questions. Who was your childhood crush? Celebrity.
Okay. I was like, oh man, we ain't got time to unpack that kind of trauma. I'm saving it for my therapist tomorrow. Celebrity crush, like as a kid, like or just like kind of just young.
Yeah.
Tyra Banks.
Mm-hmm.
Tyra Banks. I had a Kelly Rowland, Sierra.
Dang, you had a lot of them.
I actually got to meet Sierra. I was so mad. I got to meet Sierra and like had the opportunity to like holler at her, and then I totally blew it. But yeah, she was a crush for a minute, Kelly Rowland, and then like when I was really young, Tyra Banks. I was like super obsessed with Tyra Banks.
You got people looking at you right now like, what? You missed that?
It's hard to explain.
Poets. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't ready. You wasn't ready to recite the poem.
I wasn't.
You could have killed it.
I wasn't.
You could have dropped the poem.
I wouldn't.
That could have been it.
I could have been Mr. Sierra right now.
Chicken or fish? I always ask this question.
Oh, chicken.
Oh, really?
Chicken. I don't care. I don't care if I'm a stereotype. I love chicken. Oh, chicken is delicious.
Okay. All right, man.
But I make a mean fried fish and cornbread though.
Okay. Fried fish? What kind of like whiting, catfish? What are you doing?
So traditionally like whiting and catfish, because that's what I grew up eating.
Yeah.
But I like tilapia too, but I don't buy it as much.
Yeah, I ain't gonna front. Like I love some catfish. I ain't gonna front. I love catfish. I love salmon. I love seafood. Period. All right, last question. Are you a sports fan?
Off and on.
Off and on. Do you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna assume that you
more NBA than NFL.
Should the NBA reconvene?
Damn it! I wish they would, because like I'm
TV's boring.
Yeah, no.
I know.
Yo, man, like no finals, no like.
It's coming though. I'm just really disappointed that they messed up the momentum because I'm a Laker fan. I'm really disappointed. The momentum.
Oh, man.
Who do you like?
I'm a Spurs fan. Like I'm not talking trash because we got a lot of rebuilding to do. But I'm a dedicated fan. All right, I'm a Spurs fan, and that's what I am.
It's understandable why you would be a Spurs fan, though. They had some classic consistency in there. I mean, you can't argue.
Oh man, like best fundamental team that you'll probably ever see, man. Like,
Yeah.
and then like David Robinson and
But
Tim
the fact
Duncan,
that
and
you said that are you a fundamental guy?
I am. I kind of am.
Discipline. So yeah, you have
discipline, yo.
You see what his shirt says? His shirt says dad.
Yeah, I'm on it. Like in the theme of working out, you can't see the bottom, but it actually says dad bod. I bought this to make sure I get myself together. I'm like, look, all right, this shirt needs to be ironic.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. It's definitely been a pleasure. I think this is great. I look forward to like cutting this up. I'll cut up like 3 or 4 videos, just like and I'll shoot them all to you before we put it out. And you feel free to shoot it up and cut it up and do whatever you want to do it with as well. But you guys who are listening, you got to subscribe. You got to subscribe. You got to share. You got to push. I mean, if you don't do it, then it's not given the best opportunity for the value of the content that he has with Traumedy and everything else that he has. So like, make sure you're out there supporting Roscoe. Make sure you're supporting everything associated with what Roscoe's got going on. Be an advocate, be a leader, be an ambassador, be a philanthropist, be a community organizer, be a supporter, be a fan, be a Cash App contributor. Whatever you got to do, make sure you're supporting. Yeah, you want to drop your Cash App on them real quick?
Cash App, hashtag Roscoe B, ROSCOE.
Listen, the DJs ain't the only people out there that can get the money right now, okay? We need to make sure this is happening. Right? So listen, thank you all for tuning in to episode 36 of the Randy Wilson podcast. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. However, you can subscribe to any podcast channel as well. I'm on all podcast channels, but I encourage YouTube because it gives you an opportunity to get the visibility of our engagement, okay? So thank you guys for tuning in, and